What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In the last part, we witnessed a family reunion and Saiyan invasion at the same time, so today we head to planet Namek with the Saiyan widow Gine in search of the Dragon Balls to bring back some friends. Now, depending on the reception of how this video goes, this may very well be the finale, just because I don't believe that Gine's story develops more after the Android saga or after the Namek saga, but if there is a big enough pool of interest for this story, I will continue it, and then we'll go on from there. If you haven't already, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And with that all out of the way, let's continue or conclude this story. When telling Bulma about the idea, Bulma would say that she can build a spaceship from the Saiyan pods and also from Kakarot's old Saiyan pod. Soon enough, Popo would chip in, saying that they can take Kami's old ship. Everyone would heal up first, and Raditz and Tien would plan to go to Namek first, with Trunks asking if he can go too, but Raditz would say that they don't know what to expect, so he's gonna stay with his grandpa Gohan or his aunt Chi-Chi. Kakarot and Gine would plan to go too, but they wouldn't all fit in the Namek ship, so they would make another one. Krillin would remain on Earth alongside Tora, waiting for Piccolo to be revived, as when they would revive Piccolo, they would immediately send him to Earth. Raditz, Tien, and Bulma would then go on into space, with Raditz and Tien image training with each other as Bulma would pilot the ship. With Fasha and Gine, they would finish healing and report to Frieza, with Fasha walking up to Frieza, saying that she knows where the Saiyans will be headed next. Fasha would say that they will be headed to planet Namek, because on Earth, there was a Namekian there. Frieza would listen, and they would head for Namek just as usual. Once arriving, Frieza would come across the natives and learn about the Dragon Balls, with him then getting his men to locate the balls. Kree this time would climb up the ranks, as he would be replacing Zarbon because Zarbon was killed back in part 1. Once hearing about these Dragon Balls, Vegeta and Fasha would go after them to attain immortality. Vegeta would be able to convince Fasha, as he would tell her about rebelling against Frieza just like before. Once arriving on Namek, Raditz would immediately sense Frieza's terrifying presence, which would scare him. Raditz would then tell Tien that they have to hide their ki, as if they are detected, they may not be able to stand a chance at bringing Piccolo back to life. Raditz and Tien would then go around the planet, and soon enough would find Dodoria and Kui killing off Namekians, with Raditz and Tien hiding, as Raditz would tell Tien to stand down as they cannot be caught, but after seeing a child killed, Tien would jump in, knocking Dodoria away into Kui, and protecting Dende. Raditz would curse Tien, and jump in with the two combining a solar flare to escape. They would then rush off in top speed, and Dodoria and Kui would go after them, but they would get stopped immediately, as Vegeta and Fasha would confront the two. Vegeta and Fasha would face off against the two, with Vegeta easily killing Kui, with this scaring Dodoria to the point that Dodoria reveals that Frieza was the one to destroy planet Vegeta. Fasha would be outraged by this and would punch a hole through Dodoria, with Vegeta blasting Dodoria to dust. Fasha would have known about this, but wouldn't have told Vegeta about this, mainly because she would have felt guilt. After this, Vegeta would tell Fasha that with their new power, and soon enough immortality, Frieza will have no chance against them. Tien and Raditz would soon enough come across Elder Guru, with both of their powers being unlocked, and with them promising that they will get the Dragon Balls before Frieza does. On Earth, Kakarot and Gine would finally be heading off into space, with Chi-Chi and Gohan wishing them luck. They would travel in the gravity ship, with Kakarot and Gine training with each other, with them trying to perfect their Kaioken. They would only have a few sensu beans, so they would have to be very careful when training. During their travels, Kakarot would try to get to know his mother more and to have her ease up on training, but his mother would say that they need to continue training no matter what. Kakarot would tell his mother that they cannot train under stress, and if they do, they will only begin to diminish their gains. Kakarot would tell his mother if she keeps going like this, she'll break herself. Gine would then ignore her son and begin to train even harder, and one day during training, Gine would go past her normal state of Kaioken, which would tear her muscles. Kakarot would instantly give his mother a sensu bean, but Gine would need time to rest after this. Once awakening, Gine would apologize to her son, saying that all she wants to do is just protect her kids, but Kakarot would say that he could protect himself now. Gine would then tear up, saying he is as stubborn as his father, with the two chuckling. Moving forward, the two would meditate to keep Gine at peace, with Gine becoming a better skilled fighter. Raditz and Tien would come across Vegeta and Fasha, with them challenging the Earthlings for the Dragon Balls, with Vegeta showing off his own wrathful form. Vegeta would be able to attain this form after seeing Fasha fight on Earth. Raditz would power up into Kaioken times 8. Vegeta would be surprised by this and would comment that both their forms have drawbacks and would question to see whose will fail first. Raditz and Vegeta would then clash as Tien would face off against Fasha. Their battle would be immense as Raditz would feel his muscles tightening as Vegeta's control over the wrathful form would slowly be slipping away. They would be relentless, attack after attack, to the point the two would be drained of energy. Tien would have a harder time as he would be more on the defensive than offensive with Fasha. Tien would ask Fasha why she's doing this, as they should be working together to stop Frieza, but Fasha says that Frieza is her prey, and her prey alone. Fasha would then begin to beat down on Tien, with Raditz trying to help, but wouldn't be able to, as Vegeta would keep him on his toes. Soon enough, Fasha would incapacitate Tien, with her then joining Vegeta. Raditz would then get ready to accept his fate, until he would get a feeling of dread as the Ginyu Force would arrive. Vegeta would panic, as now he was out of energy, and now Ginyu would ruin his plan. When the Force would arrive, Ginyu would take the Dragon Balls and have Raccoon beat the three up. It would seem like the end for the Saiyans, until a Capsule Corp ship would arrive. Kakarot and Gine would soon enough arrive, with Gine knocking Raccoon away. Raccoon would try to retreat, but Kakarot would kill him and threaten Birder and Jace. The two would then gasp as they would notice Gine as the Saiyan Widow. Gine would tell the two to leave now and they won't end up like their friend. The two wouldn't back down as they would want a nice reward for bringing in the Saiyan Widow. Gine and Kakarot would easily defeat the two, with Jace running off. Kakarot and Gine would give the other senzu beans, with Vegeta and Fasha rejecting them. Kakarot would tell the two that if they want to defeat Frieza, they need to be at full health. Vegeta and Fasha would then reluctantly take it, with the bean's effect surprising the Saiyans. Soon enough, Ginyu would arrive, with him challenging Gine. They would allow Gine to fight, as she is on par with now Kakarot. Gine would be impressed by her power, and Gine would reveal her full power. Gine would tell Ginyu that they don't have to fight, and he can walk away from this. Ginyu would then mock Gine, saying he never thought the Saiyan Widow would show mercy. Gine would then tell Ginyu to not get it twisted. She still is a killer, but now she's more than that. With Ginyu scoffing at this. To Gine's surprise, Ginyu would stab himself in the chest and change bodies with Gine. Everyone would be surprised as Gine would attack. Kakarot would soon have had to jump in, but would be stopped by Fasha, as Fasha would crack her knuckles. Fasha and Gine would clash, with Ginyu finding out that he can't use Gine's full power. When Fasha would figure this out, she would begin to pummel Ginyu. Ginyu would try to swap bodies once again to Fasha, but Gine would jump in, getting her body back. Fasha would then grin and blast Ginyu to bits. Fasha would then go over to a beaten Gine, preparing to finish her off, but Kakarot would step up, telling her to back off, as he won't let her die. Fasha would then tell Kakarot to get out of her way, or he will be next. Kakarot would stand firmly in front of Fasha, showing Fasha that he won't back down and isn't afraid. Fasha would then see a flash of Bardock as her anger would then surface, and she would charge towards Kakarot, but Vegeta would stop her as he would knock her out with a neck chop. Vegeta would then tell Kakarot that they can bring his mother to a healing chamber for her to heal up in. Kakarot would agree to this, mainly because he was running short of senzu beans. They would then place Gine in a healing capsule. In the meantime, now that they had the Dragon Balls, Kakarot would say that they should now bring back Piccolo and send him to Earth, but Vegeta would say that he is wishing for immortality to defeat Frieza. Raditz would tell Vegeta that they have a better use for the Dragon Balls than he does. Fasha wouldn't care for this, as she would lay down and take a nap. They would all soon rest, but soon enough, Tien, using his assassin ways, would sneak off and snatch the Dragon Balls and would go over to a Namekian village where Nail and Dende are and would ask for their help. Soon enough, the others would wake up with everyone questioning where Tien is until they would see the sky go dark. Kakarot and Raditz would immediately realize what was going on and they would rush to the source of light. Soon enough, Fasha and Vegeta would find out and would rush off to catch up with the others. Vegeta and Fasha would be pissed, getting ready to face the others. Once they would arrive, they would see that the Dragon Balls had been turned to stone. Elder Guru has passed away from the stress of the Saiyans and Frieza, and soon enough, Frieza would arrive at the scene. Frieza would chuckle, saying that the Saiyans have gotten stronger, but they have no idea how angry they have made him now. Vegeta would then smirk, as he would use his wrathful form and charge straight for Frieza. Vegeta would tell the others not to interfere, as Frieza was his to finish. Vegeta and Frieza would engage into a huge battle, with Vegeta almost overpowering Frieza. Kakarot would be impressed to see Vegeta in action, with Vegeta getting more battle hungry as he would fight. This would anger Frieza, with Frieza tail slapping him to the ground and transforming into his second form. Vegeta would grin, as now he would have a better battle, as Frieza would become stronger. Vegeta would begin to lose steam, as Frieza's attacks would finally begin to seep in and actually damage him. Vegeta would get enraged by this, as he thought himself to be on the level of a Super Saiyan. Frieza would chuckle at this, as he would then show off his third form. This would shock Vegeta, and soon enough, Frieza would pound Vegeta into the dirt. The others would join in, as they would gang up on Frieza. Fasha would flash into her own wrathful state, as Kakarot and Raditz would ignite their Kaiokens. With the three jumping Frieza with their high powers, he would begin to have trouble once more. Frieza would get enraged by this and would fire death beams in all directions. Kakarot would be able to dodge these, but Tien, Raditz, and Fasha would get hit. Frieza, seeing the three getting critically injured, would take the chance to crush them down, with him then slamming Raditz into Tien and slamming his foot onto Fasha's skull. Kakarot and Vegeta would jump in and in their forms, but Frieza would blast the two away. Frieza would admit that he was impressed with the Saiyan's powers and would now show off his final form, just for a little treat. Kakarot and Vegeta would then look shocked as Frieza would show off his final form. Vegeta would curse to himself, but Kakarot would tell him that the battle isn't over just yet. Vegeta would then look surprised of Kakarot's confidence and would add that he's the only one who says if the battle will be done or not. So try to keep up, Kakarot. Kakarot and Vegeta would flare into their full power, with the two then blitzing Frieza. Kakarot and Vegeta would fight fiercely, with them combining attacks and almost fighting in sync. Kakarot would then send a signal to Vegeta, who would read it instantly. Kakarot would then surpass his Kaioken limit and knock Frieza around. Kakarot would kick Frieza into the air and would fire a Kamehameha, with Vegeta alongside firing a Gallic gun. Frieza would try to hold his attack back, but soon enough would be submerged into the attack. Kakarot and Vegeta would then drop to base form, as Kakarot would grab onto his arms in pain and Vegeta would hold his head in agony. The two would then look up to see Frieza still in the air, but this time much more angered. Frieza would then tell the group that they are finished and that they will all die long, slow deaths. Frieza would then begin to form a death ball, but it would be blasted away. Frieza would then look around, trying to find who fired the blast, and would soon enough get struck from many angles. Frieza wouldn't even be able to see this opponent, and would be getting angered, demanding to know who there is out there, with soon enough, Gine showing up behind him and slamming him into the dirt. Frieza would then look up, seeing a small, muscular Saiyan woman, with a red bandana. Could this be the Saiyan Widow? Gine would then tell the Emperor that it's not a title that she is comfortable with, but yes. Frieza would then tell her that it doesn't matter, as no Saiyan trash will ever be able to stop him. Gine would then get the others to a safe distance and would get into a stance, reminiscent to Kakarot and Raditz. Gine would then tell Frieza that his time is over, with the two then engaging into a large battle. Gine would begin to overpower Frieza just in her base form alone, and then she would kick it into high gears as she would show off her max-powered Kaioken. Gine would then pummel Frieza and grab onto his tail and swing him into the air, and she would fire off her own Kaioken Kamehameha. Frieza would be completely mad now, as not only is he losing to a Saiyan, but would look like a smaller, frail Saiyan. Frieza would then buff up, surprising Gine, and would fire a blast onto the surface. She would be able to dodge the blast, but would then witness it drill into Namek's core. Frieza would then laugh, saying that now they have nowhere left to run. Gine would then tell the others to get back to Earth and leave it to her to stop Frieza. Kakarot would then tell her that they can stay and fight with her, but she says no. The others would then go on to get Bulma and get to Earth. Fasha and Vegeta would want to stay, but Gine would tell them to go, as they need to live their lives too. Vegeta would growl at Gine, asking her who he thinks she is to just run from Frieza, with Fasha then neck-chopping him and handing him off to Raditz, telling him to send him off. Raditz would nod, with the group flying off, with Fasha eyeing down Gine. Gine would prepare herself to fight Fasha, but then Fasha looks towards Frieza flying down. Frieza would then tell Fasha that it's pointless to team up with the Saiyan Widow and taunts her to be by his side. Fasha would then power up a blast and will fire it straight at Frieza. Gine would look surprised as Fasha would then take her side, saying, "For the Saiyans." Gine would nod and would then unleash her Kaioken as Fasha would unleash her wrathful state. Frieza would look to Fasha chuckling, saying he's going to batter her and the Saiyan Widow to shreds. The three would then face off with their battle shaking Namek once again. Kakarot, Raditz, and Tien would then meet up with Bulma and get her into the ship. Kakarot would then look back towards the direction of his mother, with Raditz telling his brother that they have to go now. Kakarot would tell his brother to go to Earth. He's going to make sure that his mother gets home safely. Raditz would grow a nervous look, but would trust his brother. Kakarot would then fly over back to Gine, who at this point would be having trouble with Fasha. Even with all his power she has obtained, she would begin to feel a drawback, and Frieza would take over the battle. Kakarot would jump in with his own Kaioken, with Frieza having enough of these Saiyans. Frieza would then fire a death beam towards Gine in an effort to finish her off, but Kakarot jumps in the way and takes the blast for her. Frieza would then shoot down Fasha as well. Kakarot would then spit out blood as his body would then hit the ground. Gine would look down towards her son in horror, with Frieza laughing maniacally in the background as Gine would catch her son in her arms. Frieza would tell Gine that she failed her race and she will follow the Saiyan's fate as well. Gine would look to Fasha, with Fasha telling her to avenge them, but then Frieza would blow her to dust. Gine would look in horror, waiting for her end, until she would look over to Kakarot. In an instant, she would see her baby boy once again, and would remember her promise to him. She was never going to let something like this happen again, no matter what. Frieza would fire another blast, but this time, it would merely bounce off Gine. Frieza would be surprised, but then that feeling would be replaced with fear as Gine would summon a golden aura with an angered expression. Gine's aura would then burst into the sky, with the light of the aura blinding Frieza. When Frieza would look up, he would see the Saiyan Widow has become the legendary Super Saiyan. Gine would have tears running down her face as she would walk towards Frieza. Frieza would fire a blast towards Gine, but Gine would just swat it away easily. Frieza would then fire many blasts towards Gine, with all of the blasts hitting her. Frieza would then smirk, thinking he ended her, but then the smoke would settle, with Gine still walking forward. She would then dash towards Frieza and punch him in the gut, so hard to the point her fist goes through Frieza's stomach. Gine would then kick Frieza into the air and unleash a combination of punches and kicks, with it ending with her smashing Frieza back to the surface. Gine would then ask Frieza, "How did that feel? Did it hurt?" Well, we have only gotten started. Gine would then continue to pummel Frieza until there wouldn't be much left to pummel anymore. Once she would stop, she would notice what she has done, with her being in shock of the power she has now acquired. She would then go over to Kakarot and hug him one last time as the planet around them would collapse. Back on Earth, Raditz and the others would come off to find Piccolo at Capsule Corp alongside the others. Chi-Chi and Gohan would ask where Kakarot is, with Raditz saying he's on his way. Vegeta would laugh as he would tell Raditz that Namek is gone alongside everyone who was on it, meaning that Gine and Kakarot are most likely dead. Raditz would reject this, saying even if it did, Kakarot and his mother still would have made it off. Vegeta would tell Raditz not to be ridiculous and would look into the reality of it. Raditz would be very, very fearful of this and would only look to the stars in hopes that Gine and Kakarot would hopefully arrive home soon. And with that, we'll leave the story off for right now. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and if you guys enjoyed, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, as this one was one of my favorite stories that I've created almost over 2 years ago now, and I'm so glad it's finally coming into the limelight. With that being said, this will be the finale of the story for right now, as the Android Saga and beyond that is still a mystery even to myself, and something I would like to write, but only if people would be interested into it. So I'm going to combine all 4 parts of this story into a full story. With that all being said, what's next? Well, you guys have been waiting a while for it, and I'm just going to say right now, stay tuned as we venture back into The Walking Dead, where we'll be going over the story of what if Carly survived in Season 2 as well. But with that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching the video, and later!